The Minnesota Vikings continue the trend of absolutely heartbreaking losses on primetime football. Both yesterday and today, we had incredible comebacks in the fourth quarter. Last night, the Bills had a crazy comeback to win at home. And tonight, the Minnesota Vikings go into Chicago and they break the Bears' hearts. Everybody that was in the stands was stunned, not just at the fact that they lost this game, but how quickly this happened. If you look at the fourth quarter alone, a quarter in which Minnesota came into those last 15 minutes, losing by 11 points, only having scored 6 points the entire game, they go on to have 3 straight drives that last less than 5 minutes each. 2 of them, I guess I should highlight the one, was in 51 seconds, especially right after they forced a 3 and out from Chicago. The Chicago Bears allowed the Minnesota Vikings to come in and somewhat play possum with them. I think maybe the Bears just assumed going into the fourth quarter, winning 17-6 with a field goal opportunity. The game was wrapped up. The game was won. They thought Minnesota was going to quit, apparently, because I just don't see how you go into a drive where you're up 17-12 and you allow Caleb Williams to get sacked on the first play. DeAndre Swift gets -1 yards, and then there's an incompletion. You have a drive where you need to either put up points or take a massive amount of time off the clock. You do neither of those. You only take off 1 minute and 20 seconds from the Vikings' ability to come back in this game, and then to make things even worse, the Vikings score the go-ahead touchdown in less than 50 seconds. And it at that moment, you kind of knew Chicago was punched in the mouth, and there was a good chance they weren't going to be able to punch back. I think this game at the end, even though it's 27-24, we're not going to remember this game as one that was only a field goal difference. Now, at the same time, Cairo Santos does miss a field goal at the top of the fourth quarter. Earlier in the game, I think after Minnesota had scored a field goal, Chicago needed to put up points. At 7-3 at that point, the Bears have a chance to answer the Vikings, who at that point had gone 3 and out 2 of their first 3 drives, and would go on for the rest of the second quarter to have 2 3 and outs, and they had one drive where they went 28 yards to get a field goal. So looking back, the Bears had a chance to go up a full touchdown at that point. They would go on to get another field goal. They'd be up 13-6. They get 2 more touchdowns, and the Bears are either tied or they possibly win this game with another field goal later on. I really liked the game that we saw from Jordan Mason today. 15 carries for 68 yards. He had 1 catch for 7 yards in there. But it felt like all of his attempts on the ground were leading to good yardage, it felt like there was really good blocking to, again, get Jordan Mason 3 or 4 or 5 yards on every single carry. And this Minnesota offense in the fourth quarter, I felt like, especially, still had the ability to run the ball with Mason. They didn't have to just try to chuck the ball up and get 50-plus yard touchdowns to try to win this game all at once. They were getting down the field with more of a purpose, and they felt like they knew what they were doing, especially more than what Chicago thought they were doing in the second half, and especially, again, in that fourth quarter. That's a pretty bad quarter to lose in the fourth, 21-7 at home. You have this divisional opponent reeling. They had only scored 6 points up until that point, and they allow Minnesota to put up 21 in that fourth quarter. Caleb Williams played okay, 21 for 35, 210 passing yards. He had the 1 passing touchdown. He led the team in rushing, 6 carries for 58 yards. He had another touchdown on the ground as well, and very well could have had a second one there towards the end. But again, it just didn't feel like in the fourth quarter he was adding anything positive. Nobody really was offensively. The offensive line did not play exceptionally well. DeAndre Swift had 3 yards per carry, and that's including a long run of 13 yards. But if you take out that run, it's 16 carries for 40 yards for DeAndre Swift, well under 3 yards per carry. Just the more I think about this game, talk about this game, the Bears should not have lost this game. This is like, I said it at the beginning, this is heartbreaking. If you're a Chicago Bears fan, if you were in that stadium, you're left wondering what just happened. If you're a Bears fan watching at home, you're left wondering how in the world do we lose this game to this team? Minnesota's good. Minnesota had essentially a rookie quarterback. I know he is in his second year in the NFL. This was his first game in the NFL. And you basically allow him to do this. Now, give all the credit to Minnesota that you want. This was a terrible loss from Chicago. I think, in my opinion, more than it was a great win for Minnesota. Now, it can be both at the same time. It is a great win for Minnesota. It's exceptional that they were able to make this comeback and do this on the road, especially. But you can say that it's equally as terrible, if not much worse, for Chicago to lose this game, have Caleb Williams have a rough of a fourth quarter as possible, and the Bears as an offense especially have as rough as a fourth quarter as possible, and end up dropping this game to start the season especially. The Minnesota Vikings will get to go home and play in front of their home crowd with J.J. McCarthy for the first time. They will welcome Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons to their home stadium. It's another primetime game that everybody gets to watch on Sunday Night Football, and it's an interesting one. Atlanta is coming off of a tough loss to Tampa Bay late this week, a game that was actually pretty good that went back and forth all the way to the end there. And so I think Atlanta is going to be looking to get a win. They're going to be hungry for one. They're a team that's wanting to be in the NFC South conversation. They're a team that in their own way is not starting a rookie quarterback, but it's his first year getting the team from week 1. And so again, it's two teams with really young quarterbacks that were drafted last year with really good offenses around them, that the main story is going to be how they make their offense better. For Chicago, it gets no easier. They go to Detroit next week. Even though Detroit got beat pretty easily by Green Bay this week, I think momentum was so high for Green Bay coming into this game after getting Micah Parsons in a trade just earlier in the week. I think, honestly, Detroit will be playing almost with a chip on their shoulder. With this Vikings win and how Green Bay beat them, I think all the talk is going to be about how those two are back on the top of the division. And I think Detroit is going to really love the chance to host Chicago and make the start of this season even worse than it is right now. Not just because the Bears would hate it, but the Detroit Lions need to get this season on track themselves. I'm going to be trying to do these more conversation type videos about most of the games this week. I'm probably going to put out a video soon about the Tennessee Titans facing the Denver Broncos. It was Cam Ward's debut. It was a bit rough from his teammates around him. And, all in all, I would love to make videos about, honestly, if I could, every single game, every single week. So if you have a certain team that you want me to talk about how they performed in week 1, I will do it. So, yeah, I'll see you in the next video.